Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Cash. I help the League of Women Voters of North Carolina with their communications. I'm here today with Rebecca Clace. She is one of the newer members of the State Board of Directors for the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. We're going to get to know her a bit, and we're going to talk to her about the work she is doing around League action teams. So hi, Rebecca. And I just want to start with, give us a brief overview. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and how long have you been involved with the League?
Yeah, I'm not quite one of those League lifers, but I have been involved with League of Women Voters for about 25 years now. I was peripherally involved when I lived in West Virginia, but when I moved to North Carolina, I became a much more active League member. And part of why I did that is I got really excited by the people I was meeting and hearing about at our local league, the Piedmont Triad Group. So I became a member of the Piedmont Triad Group and pretty quickly started finding some leadership roles that I was interested in, mostly in things related to voter service. Like I really love when we go out and register new voters, especially when we get to go, as some of our leagues do, to a ceremony for new citizens. And we literally registered in the vote as they walk out of the building, having just taken their oath to the United States Constitution. Eventually, I had a job change that made it difficult for me to be as locally active during the day in the activities they were doing then. So at that point, I switched to working primarily with activities that were at the state level. So for many years, I worked as one of our coaches who helped with membership recruitment and leadership development, and helped some of our local leagues develop some of the projects that they felt like they were trying to get on the ground, but needed a little bit of assistance with. So we worked with newer leagues that were a group of people that just came together and said, we'd love to have a local league in our area, help them get on the ground. And also help people develop plans for projects that they felt like they wanted to move beyond what they were doing and be a little more active in their community in specific areas.
And so let's get into this conversation about League action teams, or LATs. Can you just tell us, remind us, what are they exactly, and why is it important that League members across the state working on specific issues are connected to each other?
You know, the heart of the league really is our local leagues, the groups that are grassroots doing things to make a difference in their community. And most people, that's why they want to be a part of this organization. They see people that have common interest to them. People are really concerned about some particular issue, like what's going on with the access to healthcare in their community. So people get involved in the league, usually because they have some of these interests that the league has offered policy positions on. And they say, I really like that activity I saw. I really connected to that letter to the editor that was written. So people get locally involved. And what we know at the state level is that many times local leagues are working on similar issues. You've got a group in Charlotte and a group over in the mountains, both working on education issues. Piedmont Triad has always been really engaged in immigration issues, but people in the western part of the state are interested in that too. So what the legal action teams do is, in a league action team, you get an opportunity to work with other people that are interested in the same specific policy area that you are. And it also brings together these groups of people all throughout the state, because often to be effective, what these people need to work on is not just something at the local level, but they need to be able to advocate at the legislature, or they want to be involved in creating a study material that everybody in the state could be a part of. So the league action teams allow people from throughout the state to come together. Now, these league action teams are led by people in the local leagues. That's the really important part of this to remember. We have league action teams only if members of the League of Women Voters North Carolina want one. I didn't choose the areas that we're working in. The areas that we're working in have come out of groups that were already working in their local leagues and said, we'd really like to expand our work to be involved with other people around the state that have the same interest we do.
Yeah, so let's talk about the areas we're working in. What LATs currently exist? And maybe you could give a couple of examples of what they've been up to lately.
Sure. A couple of our League Action teams are involved in areas that are the bread and butter of the League of Women Voters. Things like voter services and redistricting. Redistricting issues have been vital in North Carolina over the last couple of decades. So we have a very active work group that does things like monitor what's going on in the legislature. League action teams also give us the ability to partner with other groups outside of the League of Women Voters. So sometimes our League action teams, for example, the one in redistricting, has partnerships with other groups that are working on redistricting. So things like voter services and redistricting, those have been around for a long time. We also have some that are specific to areas of importance in communities, in particular healthcare and education have both been active recently. Our education group recently spent a lot of time advocating and educating people about what is referred to as the Leandro decision, which is about the funding of public schools in North Carolina and providing more equitable educations to kids all over the state. Members of that group are sometimes interested just because they're community members or parents, but we also have some very talented people in that group who have experience as teachers, as school superintendents, as all kinds of different professionals. So they coming together, they bring a lot to the table to help us really think through issues and think what kinds of activities can we engage in. So we have those groups going on. We've had an ongoing group working with the Equal Rights Amendment. That's kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for action from Congress right now. And then we have three other groups that are, I would say, we're kind of in transition right now, where we have local leagues working on these issues, and they're in the process of joining together to have a statewide group. So those areas include the environment, immigration, and something related to criminal justice issues. But like I say, at any point, if league members around the state are interested in starting a group in another area, all they have to do is let me know or let their local leadership know, and we'll start working with them to make those connections.
Yeah, I mean, just such important issues of all kinds. And yeah, where do you think we have gaps to fill when it comes to LATs?
I think we especially want to work on this environmental one right now. That we already have some groups around the state, both immigration and environment. We have groups working locally. What we need to do with those two groups is we're recruiting leaders for it. My job with the LAT is not to lead each of the individual LATs. We've got some really talented people out there that need to be taking care of that. I mainly facilitate these groups. I'm trying to make sure they have a communication platform like I've been working with you, and make sure they have materials on the web page, or that they have a Google Drive space for communication. I do sit in on their meetings. For one thing, I just find them very interesting, but I also look for those connections, that synergy that might occur among groups. Another group that we have that's very active is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion group. And that is one of our LATs that often has ideas that really need to be populated in addition to other groups. So our DEI group is one that often is making connections. But we also understand the connections. We have a position in the North Carolina League of Women Voters related to social justice. And that states in our own position about the connections between healthcare and housing and things, education and relationships to poverty. So we actually have a structure that says some of these groups have reasons to interact, and I help them sometimes coordinate ways to work together on projects.
Yeah, you're really the central hub and helping to kind of amplify the great work that these folks are doing. Well, I just want to emphasize that if someone wants to get involved with an LAT that exists, if you want to talk to Rebecca about starting a new one, if you just have general questions, you can reach out to her at clase@lwvnc.org. That's KLASE@lwvnc.org. I know she'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you for your time today, and thanks for all you're doing for the league.
Well, thanks so much, Andrea. Appreciate talking with you.
See you soon.
Bye.